Hey, what's up? We should be live. As always, please let me know you can hear me well and see me well. One big update that I wrote in the description is that we've improved our connection, so it should be much faster. So let me know, I don't know if you feel an improvement. I did leave the quality kind of the same. I didn't want to shake the system too badly, so I kept it at 720p, but I think we can go to 1080 the next time. So good things to look forward to. I just didn't want to take too many risks. But yeah, so it should at least work smoother. I will then be able to upgrade the camera as well. So yeah, thank you so much for being here. Hey Gwyneth, how are you doing? Hey Tom, hope you're doing well. Hey Ambi, hey Marina, how are you? Hey Melodia, hey Megan, how are you? I hope everyone's doing well. Today I'm going to try something a little different. I always want to do this, but I never end up actually doing it. What I want to do is, this time we'll do this obviously majestic horse that you've seen in the thumbnail and topic of the video. Let me show you my face. There we go. So we're gonna do this majestic horse. Now I mastered the art of, it's actually reversed, so I see it to my left. So whenever you see someone going live, they always point at the wrong direction, which is hilarious. I mastered the craft. It is right here. So we're gonna paint this together. I will try this time to really put an emphasis on quality over quantity, which basically means we probably will not finish the painting in the stream. We may finish a section of it if we're lucky. I just think it could be a nice change of pace to finally paint slower and focus more on getting the section working and sacrificing like the finished product that I can later on update you in a post and show you what I did. So this is a bit of a tricky one, an interesting scene I think. That has a lot of unique stuff to it. We will kind of dive deeper on it in just a second. First, let me see again who is in the house, and then we can start. I'll explain like my approach to this, how I'm gonna paint it, and it's just gonna be great fun. Good. So it looks good. Looks like it works smoothly, at least runs smoothly. This camera could use an upgrade too, but it's the max camera. So yeah, the thumbnail is scary. White Reza, why is it scary? I'm not sure. Black belt at pointing, definitely. It took so long to get to this skill level. Hey Christine, how are you? White Reza, hope you're doing well. Hope everyone's doing well. Thank you for letting me know everything is good. We have Nagi10, hi from France. Thanks for sharing all your good tips. Keep going, love your art. Thank you so much. So I think we'll actually zoom in a bit. Wasn't planning on, but come on, I mean, we're gonna focus on the horse here, so might as well. I'll just a bit. Would actually like to, maybe I'll zoom in digitally with my webcam, because the most important thing actually is some of the sections we'll focus on. I really want you to be able to see them. And as the live stream kind of unfolds, I would appreciate just if you can let me know. I actually have two images here. If you can let me know if the quality does feel a little better in terms of how it runs and frame rate and stuff like that. So I did increase the bit rate, which is something 90% of you shouldn't care about, but from 2500 to 4000. So 4000 should be much better and look a little better. Got my coffee ready to go. So let's talk a bit about this scene and why I find it interesting and I think unique. So I'm going to put up the picture that is actually black and white. And actually let me do this big here. So when you look at this, one of the things that are most visible is that it's relatively high key. There aren't too many dark sections here, aside from the nose and the eye, pretty much. Maybe a bit of the ears, maybe a small shadow here and there on the tail, but mostly this is quite a high key scene. So what this means is we need to get that variety and value as accurately as we can, because we don't have too big of a range. I could go ahead and exaggerate, but I don't want to. I actually want to preserve that nice little gradual transition. Now, just to go back to here, I want to show you, I have a sketch here. I actually put a link in the description box, so you can go ahead and find a high quality scan of this sketch. And if you want to trace over it and work with me, you can do it now. I updated the description about an hour and a half ago, but I didn't even say, so I won't blame you if you didn't see it. But if you do want to go ahead and print this, maybe trace it real fast now, and then we'll start getting into the painting process. You have a few more minutes till we get started painting. So this is kind of like the flutist video that I did, of basically one kind of clear value that is slightly darker than the lightest light. And that's pretty much it, with a few maybe mild variations. So for example, the front of the face is a little darker. It's actually the top, depending, it's the horse's structure is a little different, but that front part of the face is a little darker all the way through. Some shadows on the legs are a little darker. Another thing to have in mind is this beautiful kind of haze of the snow that the horse is kicking around, and that's actually a big part of it, something you want to get nicely with a bit of a blended feel to it. And watercolor is capable of achieving that. So it'll basically be putting in that very light background and kind of blending it. Something I'm not that necessarily that good at. It's something I am practicing improving in. And last note is actually about the color and the temperature. So if we go back to the original colorful reference photo, there is clearly a motif here of warm and cool, but as I've shown you in the last video, it's actually not that big of a variance, and not that much saturated too. What you basically have here is shadows that are slightly on the coolish side, slightly on the warmish side, but it's very mild variations of a bit of blue, a bit of yellow. And if you exaggerate it too much, it can look cool, it can look like a strong sunset, or it can give off a certain feeling that maybe you're interested in, but it will diverge a bit from the original. So that's up to you, that's up to your stylistic choice, right? The way I see it on my end, the stream runs really smoothly, so I'm happy about that at least. So let's see real quick who's here, and then we'll start applying the first wash, which is going to be interesting. I'm going to take this one slowly. Again, it's going to be quality over quantity this time. So Tom says the stuff around the feet hooves will be interesting. Yeah, definitely. That's going to be a big challenge here. Dragonfly Art Cafe says, hi, how are you? Javi Jeff, greetings from Chicago. Looking forward to today's session. Thank you for being here always. Really appreciate it. And please like the video if you can, everyone. I see actually quite a lot of likes. Thank you so much. If you can, it will help more people find it. Jody says hello from Central Illinois. Alina says right now everything works good. Thank you so much. Good morning from Long Island. Thank you, John. White Teresa, thanks for the link. Not that easy to draw. Yeah, I know, it's not that easy to draw. James says, hello, Liron. Another white subject. The white flower painting from last week was a real help in trying to paint a white chicken. Oh, yeah. It's definitely, it falls under that category. And you get that beautiful, very subtle kind of change in temperatures that will accentuate the fact that it is white. You don't go too strongly with any other local color, right? Because sometimes the local color will be like this matte here, green. Then you have to take that into consideration, right? So I think what we will do as a first wash is actually we'll do a gradual wash from top to bottom, covering everything with some colors. The reason is I want to set the tone, and most of it is so light that I kind of want to, again, set the tone for the entire painting, for the warmth and coolness of it, covering everything up. I won't take the more like focused approach for now. We will go over everything. But this isn't a wash that, like, sometimes, you know, cityscapes, I'll go at it because I'm so trained at it. This, I think, is a more, what's the word for it? This subject has a little more depth to me, and not in the sense of distance, but depth that I want to convey personally. So that means I'll probably be a little more deliberate in my first wash. Sorry for the lack of focus for a second there. I'll probably be a little more deliberate in my first wash, trying to, let's go for a bit of a bigger brush, trying to achieve a specific dispersion of temperatures. Okay, so what we will work with here is probably it's going to be simple. It's going to be yellow and blue for the most part. But the placement of it and the ratio will be important. So we have here, for example, the background is really great. I didn't sample any colors here beforehand. I'm kind of going off my feeling right now. So of course it's bound to be less accurate, but that's fine. Let's move some of the brushes here. They're just in the way. We'll use them later on anyway. And we'll jump to it. Again, this is going to be quantity over quality, so I may work a little slower, and we'll achieve less in terms of like how much we finished. So let me just try out a few things here on my palette. So I have this yellow that is Indian Yellow by White Nights. Now this feels a little too a little too, not artificial, like what's the word I'm looking for? It's a little too nickel azo yellow, while I'm more interested in a bit of a warmer one. So if I add a bit of Parylene red to this, let's see if we can achieve the kind of yellow I'm after, just on a small scale here, and then we can start developing it more. This yellow is a little too cool for my taste, as it is right now. And you will notice that in the photo itself, the color is much more muted again. So that's kind of something to have in mind. I'm not going to use pure yellow, and I'm going to use a very light yellow. The yellow in the picture almost looks a little peachy. So let's add a bit of blue to that, and let's see what we get here. You can always color match. You can always take your time with it. Again, I'd much rather get this right than just paint. You see, so it's kind of close. I would actually add a bit more red here. And then let's see what we have. So you see, it's kind of nice. That's maybe along the lines. You see, it looks close in the color itself. So what we need to do is mix this on a larger scale, because we're going to cover the entire page. So let's get to it. So there was a bit of lemon yellow in there too. The colors I'm using: lemon yellow, Indian yellow by White Nights, lemon yellow by this brand, Paul Rubin. And then I add a bit of Parylene red, Daniel Smith. And then I add a little ultramarine blue, also Daniel Smith, or French ultramarine, I think. So here we go. And I'm going to keep this first wash again very, very light. And don't get discouraged if what you have on the palette looks weird and you're like, am I going to use this color? It looks strange, it doesn't look right. Take your time, just mix it until it looks right, okay? We may not need that much because it is going to be a very pale wash. But let's see what we can get here. So a bit more red. And a bit more, let's try a bit more of the lemon yellow. I'm just trying things out here a bit. Seeing if I can get something that looks right to me. Now, as for the background, I don't know why my headphones just disconnected. Not that it matters, but let me try and reconnect them. Now, let me know if something with the audio is funny or everything is okay. I don't know. I don't think it should affect it, but just in case. Yeah, and I cleaned the palette. For sure things are getting serious if I clean my palette. That is true. That is most certainly true. So I think I'll increase the red here actually. Looks a little more pinkish even. But here's again, the important thing is the background's a little more muted, so I'm going to add a bit more blue to that. Let's see what we can do here. It's not going to be a perfect thing, but I will try at least to get something close in terms of the temperature. Again, I'm also fighting my own kind of observational biases of not seeing colors accurately. Let me put this on paper and we'll see what happens. So I do want to add a bit more blue to that. Good. And remember, a lot of it is going to become more and more contextual the more we move through the painting, so don't worry if things look a little strange. You gotta let everything fall in the right context. So the background's a little more muted than the horse. Now as we get to the horse and move down, I'm gonna blue things up a bit more here. And let's see what happens. We'll just kind of go for it. We'll find our way. The colors in the camera are not as accurate as I'd wish them to be, so my apologies about that. They are contextual to one another though, so you can kind of guess what the colors look like. And I opened up another well here. I'm going to get a bit more of that red, and we'll cover the entire horse, because remember, right now we're working on the lightest layer, the underpainting, and we're doing it because everything is so light that I want to establish that kind of a thing, okay? And there won't be too much variance. The only real variance I'm going to put here is perhaps around the front. We'll get a bit more blue in there, because it is a little bit cooler, see, like that. But I'm actually okay with that kind of melting away and ultimately kind of reverting to a yellow. because the layer that's going to come on top of that will be the one that makes the difference. Now, as we move down, I'm going to cover everything here down below, even the highlights, because they're not really highlights. A bit of warmth there. And then it starts to get a little cool, and I'm actually seeing a bit of ultramarine there as well. It's not just this cool manganese. We also have some touches of ultramarine. And as we're keeping things fairly light, I can cover everything. There isn't really any highlight, quote unquote, that I skip here. Okay, so that's going to be our first wash. Pretty basic. Tried going a little neutral with the background. It has a bit of a green tint to it, but that's fine. A little neutral, then increase the warmth just a tiny bit here in the front and on the horse itself. Went a little cooler as we moved down. I can actually feed this with a bit more of a cooler blue at the bottom, because it's gonna be quite cooler later on anyway. See this kind of a nice little strip of blue. And again, you have the freedom to kind of work things wet and wet more and more. It really is a matter of choice. To me, I'm like, let's finish this first wash, get rid of it, quote unquote, so we can focus on the smaller details and really render this properly. So if you have any questions about the process, feel free to ask. I'm going to now look at some of your comments. We'll let this dry naturally for a few more moments. And then maybe I'll give it like a final push with the hairdryer. Because I do like the idea of letting it... Ruth came here. I do like the idea of letting it dry naturally, at least like 50%. Andy Evenson mentioned something about it, how it helps the paints dry a little nicer. And I'm giving it a try. I think there is some merit to that. Now, I could use this stage while it was still wet. Now it's not anymore. It's not wet enough to work with. But while it was still wet, I could use it to get some of the background kind of blended shapes. But I'm actually not going to do that now. I feel like focusing on the horse quite a bit before I tackle any background. Sometimes this is something worth mentioning, and I talk about this. I answered a bunch of emails today in the last couple of days, and I like to give the advice of if you really want the focal point to shine, sometimes it's okay to start from that. You can actually start working on the focal point and then build a background to complement that as an afterthought. And this is the perfect example for a scene where I think that'll be beneficial. I think we will be very wise to actually get started from the focal point, from the very details of the face, establish those in a nice way, figure it out from there. So if we look at it, let's go here and open it up a little larger. Or I can just go ahead and do this. You'll see that the face, a lot of the shadow there, it's neutral. Like it has touches of blue, like on the eye socket here. There's a bit of blue above the eye, a bit of blue on the nose, but the top part has a bit of warmth in it. I almost see it as a purple. And that's something that I'm really training my brain to see. It's very hard sometimes to isolate the value. You see the hue, you see the color itself. It's something I'm working towards and kind of trying to learn how to better do. And now, mind you, that we don't have any glow here yet, and it looks almost muted and dead. A couple of things. First off, you're looking at the way the camera portrays it. If I do a scan of it, it will look vastly different. It's important to remember it's actually much lighter than it seems. It will dry a little lighter too, and we don't have the context of the shadows. As soon as I put those shadows in, you'll see how the highlights kind of pop. Okay. Another interesting thing about this is when I put it in Photoshop, turned it black and white, you'll actually notice that the value of, again, the sky and the body of the horse are very similar, so there isn't really a dark shadow behind it making it pop or anything like that. The how much it will pop depends on those details and very gentle shadows we're gonna add on top of it. Okay. Very gentle, and we'll do this slowly. So let me look at some of your comments. If you still feel like tracing it, then you have some time. I'm sorry that it's a bit of a, I know I did it a little late, but hopefully some of you can do that. Let's see what you're saying in the chat. My chat keeps jumping on me, but yeah. So read this, read that. Yeah, it's definitely not easy to draw. I was in a pinch, so I traced. You can trace too. James says, hello, Liron, another white subject. Yes, we talked about that. Thank you so much for the kind words. Eileen says, greetings from Seattle. I have a photo of a cat I want to paint that is the same colorway. So you mean like a kind of very gentle, warm, and cool, a bit peachy on the lighter side? Let me know, and feel free to send it over via email. I'll take a look. Megan Kelly, I noticed the sketch and printed I noticed the sketch and printed it 15 minutes ago, but I'm not confident with this subject. Yeah, I get it. So what I do with subjects I'm not confident with, because quite honestly, I'm not confident with this subject too. There's a lot of nuance here. What I like to do is really take my time. And I'll prioritize a small section. I'm like, okay, let's get this to look good. That's usually how I am able to paint something well. And again, for all the people that don't enjoy the live streams, this is going to be one heck of a live stream because I'm working slowly this time. So just be warned if you still haven't realized we've only gotten through the first wash and we've been going for quite some time now. So yeah. Let's see what else. Roel Win says hello from Cologne, Germany. Thank you for being here. Megan says, I got this ice blue limited color from Schminke. I wonder if it would be nice here. Yeah, definitely. I think I'll try and mix a bit of my John Brilliant opaque color. I find it has that same effect of making the blues look a little icier. We'll see how that goes. Hey Richard, how are you? Hey John, hope you're doing well too. Christine, things are getting serious. Clean the palette indeed. Richard Bennett, Liron, I think someone broke into your apartment, cleaned your palette while you were out. Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I just found it this way. It's so weird. So bizarre. So yeah, hey Scars, how are you, my friend? Alessandra, hey Alexander, I got you live today. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. We have quite a lot of viewers, 67 people in the house. Please, if you can take a moment, like this live stream, it will really help to get to more people. I know you may be washing the dishes or walking the dog or at work, dare I say, but when you get a chance to, I would appreciate that. So yeah, happy to hear you're doing well, Scars, and you're going through the process. I really wish you all the best, and we'll continue corresponding via email. MB, my yellow turned green. Yeah, that's a problem. So if you go too yellow, it can sometimes turn to green. One thing I found, and I haven't shared anywhere else, or maybe I did share it somewhere. One thing I found it really helps is to use a bit of that opaque white. It can create a buffer between, so if you try and get a gradual wash, let's say from cool to warm or warm to cool, in the middle there, use a bit of opaque wash as if it's just part of the wash and continue with it, and it will create a buffer in which the paints don't mix as much. Another thing you can do is go ahead with the blue, go ahead with the yellow, and then use a bit of water and down the middle to merge the two together. As long as you don't go too punchy though on the saturation, it should be okay. And by the way, let me tell you something, green is great, it's a great color. Now I actually want to take a quick break and try and mix this icy blue, because I have a feeling it's going to be a nightmare to mix. So I'm going to try it out. Ruth is digging through her little mat she's sitting on. Oh, you're so cute. The couch cleaners were here today, so she can't sit on the... I think she can now, by the way. I think it dried. That looks still wet in some spots, so yeah, maybe later. So I want to try and mix this blue. Let's see what we can achieve here. Again, part of it is the camera, so I'm trying to compare it to what I see on screen, and we'll see how it goes. A lot of colors, and you've seen in the latest video, give me quite a challenge to mix accurately. So here I am adding a bit of my opaque paint. It's a bit off camera, but you can see it here, right in the corner. That can sometimes actually turn the color a little more icy, chill, or whatever. Let me show you. Let's see what we can produce here. One thing I did find is important is to separate where you're using opaque paint so that it doesn't mix into your other color, other wells, because that can cause some issues sometimes. So yeah, I think that's kind of... Let me try it out now with ultramarine, because I feel like it's kind of a mix of the two. In a way, this chilly blue is always a kind of blue that gives me trouble. Yeah, so it's kind of in the middle, I would say. So if I use a bit of my ultramarine and then a bit of my manganese to get something that's kind of in the middle, that's closer. That's closer. So it's going to be a mix of the two. So we learned something new here. We'll be prepared to tackle it once we get to this section. Plus, the front of the horse also has that color. So let's see if there's anything I missed, and then we'll dry this real fast because it's already pretty much dried. Yeah. And then we'll continue. Monica and Jay, good morning. Liron and everyone, thank you. White Rosa says the wet in the bottom gives a nice blurry look, feel to the movement. Yeah, and I may preserve it and I may not. I may go over it actually and get rid of it. We'll see about that. Megan says I didn't even have the guts to start painting, but I mixed the yellow with Naples yellow red, and a tiny bit of Indian yellow. You know what could be a fun experiment? If you're scared to draw something, try and paint it directly. I know you're like, what are you talking about? That's going to be worse. Not necessarily. I'm telling you, not necessarily. And thank you so much for all the likes. I see that a lot of people like the video. Much appreciated. And by the way, if this is your first time watching, so cool, welcome aboard. Because I do get a lot of people that are like, just discovered the channel thanks to this live stream, so thank you so much. Hey Monkey-sama, how are you? Tom Dancer says, I've had some luck recently with the DaVinci Eye app. It's not often I pay for apps. If you don't know its projects, it projects your reference image. Yeah, I know this one actually. Yeah, so if you feel like that's something that will benefit you, it's totally worth it. And if I'm not mistaken, it's not that terribly expensive, right? Monkey, that's super cool that you're painting with me. Not the same reference. Yeah, that's fun. That's fun to paint something different and listen. Mountain Town Naturalist is while I'm actually washing dishes. I know, because I do this too. I wash dishes as I listen and watch live streams. Mary Todd says, looks good. Thank you. Paula Campbell, good morning. This looks like something I want to try that is not my norm. Yeah, same like me. Cool. So go for it. Johanna Liron, hope you're well. The thing that impresses me about this painting is the accuracy of the drawing. It's not like before. What is the secret? No, this time I actually traced and I said it. I would say that it's not the. So if you look at the scan, the one thing to know, how do you know if something was traced or not, is just based on the guidelines. Because I can draw this and I could take my time with it, but I just didn't have the time and I was in a hurry, so I just traced it real fast over the screen. The way to know if it was traced, you just look at the amount of guidelines. It's 0. There's nothing. There's just that. If I draw something really from 0, you will see more guidelines. You will see the overall shapes. So yeah, just something to note. I've been a little lazy recently with the tutorials. I tend to trace them. Usually if I paint for myself, especially cityscapes, I hate tracing. It's just impossible. You have to kind of draw it. But yeah, so that's why it's so accurate. Wink. Alessandra says, I'm watching from Italy. I think I'll paint it later. Now it's impossible for you. Yeah, sure, whenever you want. And Iruda says, blue, it appears like lavender. Kind of, I know what you mean. I would say this section is more like lavender, while this is a little more bluish. But yeah, definitely. Lavender is useful. I need to get some. Mary thought I love horses. Looks great. Thank you so much. Hey, Kelly. Good morning. Okay, yeah, so we can move forward. Thank you, Alexander. Thank you, John. Thank you, Melodia. Much appreciated. So let me dry this real fast. I'm gonna mute myself for a second and then continue. Okay, just give me 1 sec. Good, so I think it's sufficiently dry. One thing I learned is not to dry close to the computer, because then it starts slowing down. The heat actually slows it down, which is pretty funny to think about. So yeah, horse. Now we will get started with the face, and I am going to be quite careful with the face. So I'm going to zoom in on my reference on my end, because I really want to see it clearly, and I see some very interesting color transitions there. Starting from a bit of a orangey brown color and all the way to some more bluish and reddish colors here. So here's what's cool about this process. It's not easy, but you can actually isolate quite a lot of it. And I'll actually, let's see, I think I'll crop out the face real fast. I want to show it to you. Let's do it properly. So I'm gonna just zoom in on the face of the horse. Quite a long face, as they say, and I'm gonna bring it up. Horse head. Save. Just give me a second. OBS is a little slower. I have to find the picture I'm looking for. There we go. Okay, we got the face here. So just a little larger so you can actually see the details, and that's the part I'm going to focus on. And I'm going to zoom in a bit more. Let's see if I can zoom in adequately digitally, so to speak. If I can, that'll be awesome. So let's see here. Advanced. White balance. I do want to turn it auto. Let's try it out, because I feel like the white balance is very off. So I wonder if that improved stuff or not. I actually don't like the way it looks, so let me turn it off for a second. We'll see how it... yeah, okay, that's better. Let's do this. Now I think it's a little closer to what it should be. I'm just playing around with some stuff while I'm at it. But yeah, let's do this. Zoom. Let's zoom a bit, see how that works. Yeah, I think that's good. Instead of me moving everything, we can zoom in like this. And then I'll zoom out later. Yep. So, and then you can see some of my mixing here, because I'm going to really focus on the head right now. Now notice I'm going to use this brush, my Skoda. It's quite large still. I'm not using a tiny brush. This is size 14, I believe, 16, sorry. This is size 6. I'm going to use the 16. Because I want to get some flow and I don't want to have to work super duper fast with a tiny brush. I don't enjoy that kind of a thing. So we'll start from the top, from the ears, and you look at this color and you're like, what is that? Right? It's kind of an orange, so we'll start there. So I'm going to add a bit of red here, a bit of yellow. Let me actually move this here so I can see the thing accurately. And then, you know, it's not a perfect orange, it's still quite muted, so I'm going to add a bit of blue, and let's actually add a bit of manganese here as well. A bit more red, and we'll start getting a color that is kind of a muted kind of gray, and then we can start pushing it in the direction we want. So if we add a bit more, let's add a bit of lemon yellow here and see what happens. A bit of yellow, we can add a bit of red, and start pushing it in the direction we want. So this actually starts to get a little closer, but I do feel like it needs more red and more yellow and more water for sure. This isn't too dark, you know, it's of course a little darker, but it's not too dark. Running out of test paper here. Yeah, so that looks quite close. So let me give it a try and we'll see how it goes. I'm taking a bit of a risk. I'm not mixing yet this part, but we'll see. It's gonna be okay, I think. Good. So I'm actually looking at, I'm just looking at the reference photo here full screen. So you'll forgive me, I cannot see any messages, I cannot see if things go wrong in the stream, I can't see it, so my apologies. And now I'm gonna treat this entire group of hair as kind of one big shape for now. I think later on I'll bring out some more strands of hair and some more random details, but for now let's keep it like that. And this is going to be one continuous wash for the face, right? So it's not an easy painting, but we're lucky enough to have a few separate sections, which is a huge advantage because we can work on them at our leisure. I'm actually going to get rid of this thin highlighter left and get this here. Now here we have a thin kind of slice of the ear. We do get a shadow inside it, and that's pretty much it. And then I'm gonna put a bit more of a darker orange within the ear, but it still has to be quite muted. So let's see if I can mix it real fast. Let's see if I can get this to look good. Actually a bit more on the red side, like that. Hopefully you can see and that makes sense. Now this is a little darker too. And as we move down along the face, we have a bit of a red indeed mix here. This is a bit red purple. So let's bring a bit more blue. And you see sometimes you have to kind of mix while you're painting. It's not an easy thing, but it is a skill that I think is really important to practice, right? And then let's switch back to the more yellow, just to get these hairs here. Hopefully you can see well. Again, my apologies if you can't. Now, funny enough, the hair here is a very similar value to the background, so it's barely visible, but I want it to be visible. I'm going a little stronger here on purpose, okay? I can just kind of do a T-wash, very transparent, and almost not show it, but I do kind of want it to show a bit. And then we have to continue this wash here. So again, this isn't easy, but it is a constrained area in which we can work a little more at ease. And I'm going to switch real fast to a bit more blue here. And this is going to get, again, bluer. And I can actually go over the eye because it's so much darker. It's probably the darkest spot, so why not get something in there. The shadow under the hair is a little blue as well. And then we get all these more yellowy shadows. And shapes. We'll continue the hair in just a second. I'll actually stop it here because under that there's a shadow. I can stop there. And then as we move down the face real fast before it dries, I gotta blend these shapes together. From that purple that's composed of our red and blue, we're gonna start branching out into a cleaner ultramarine around the center and the nose. There's really a nice transition of the two colors. And it's a very smooth, by the way, this shape has a very smooth edge that we will need to capture. So let's see how this works. If this looks blue enough, I think it does. And again, if I don't match the colors, sample them, sorry, in Photoshop and really observe them, I tend to not be able to match them perfectly well. So I don't have high expectations right now, but we'll see. Taking a clean brush and working on that edge to blend it just a bit. Let's do another round. See, help it move a bit. Same goes here. We'll stretch this shape down and then blend it a bit like this. And that's how we get that smooth transition, right? Now, as we move down to the nose, I see a lot more of that kind of cooler manganese blue. So let's get that in. And we have this sharp shape here. You see there's quite a lot of nuance of shape here. And hopefully I'm able to at least show some of it. And then we have this kind of a slightly darker shape. We have the shape under the lip or the nose, whatever that is. Kind of disappears in here. And then, very important, we have the dark nostril, kind of muted and neutralized gray. So I'm going to get a bit of all my colors here. And let's see what this looks like. I could use neutral tint, but if I'm already mixing so much, why not get like the proper mix here, like that. Now obviously this will need some more touches to get darker. So I'm gonna, while it gradually dries, I'm gonna do some more kind of wet and wet adjustments to darken this. And the other side as well. So my color matching is far from perfect, but it does get the job done, I think, here. There's a bit of a highlight here that I'll bring back later on, by the way, with some opaque paint. Hopefully that makes sense. The colors are really off in the camera. It's actually not that bad here, so it's funny. I'll show you a scanned version maybe later on. I'll definitely show you one when I'm done. So you see why this is probably not gonna cover the entire process here. It's because we're really taking our time. But yeah, that's how you kind of do it. We're gonna go through that same process throughout the entirety of the horse. Then we'll add a few shadows wherever they're necessary. That's pretty much gonna be the entire process. So let me zoom out a bit here. with my software. I don't know if you remember when I did that sheep tutorial, I was able to match the colors really well. That was a fun one too. So zoomed out, and let's go back to the original reference photo. We're gonna use that for a while now, because I want to show you that kind of middle section. And as it dries, we may find that the nostril also dries a little too light, and we have to go over it again. Okay, so let me see if you have any questions about that so far. Okay, it looks actually nice. Yeah, the colors they do look a little off on camera. It's actually much better real life again, but yeah, I hope it still is enjoyable to see. So what paints and what colors? I talked a bit about it. I have my French ultramarine. Let's see that you can see this. I have my French ultramarine here, my manganese blue hue. I have my White Knight's Indian yellow that reminds me a bit of nickel azo yellow actually. We have lemon yellow by Paul Rubin. We have Perlin red by Daniel Smith, and I think that's everything I used so far. And neutral tint here by Daniel Smith. We haven't used that yet. So yeah. And by the way, if you want to look at it really from the front, just straighten it out. You see it's at an angle, so you get a bit of perspective skewing the drawing. It's actually like this. Okay, so now the drawing will look a little more accurate. Just saying. But yeah. Now the big challenge is going to be how to mix those beautiful blues here in the middle. We'll get it, don't worry. We will get it. Still on the green side of the... Corburn says, I'm literally sitting in an empty bathtub right now using the neighbor's Wi-Fi to watch this because mine is stressed. So funny. Okay, I'm taking a watercolor course, botanical, but have been drawing horses for a long time. Oh, cool, Mary. It's really cool. Back up. Yeah. I don't expect anyone to go back in the live stream. It's just it's too fun to stay alive. So yeah, stay alive, not just alive. Marina says, looking at your palette, I noticed you are running out of certain colors, but what I zeroed in on are the colors that are less used, like the greens. Yeah, the greens are definitely less utilized. I do like the May green here. It's very bright, good for grass. This is a really good dark phthalo green. I like phthalo greens. Actually, they're very useful for dark foliage. These two are just, to me, inferior versions of these two. So this is kind of, it's not as glowy as the May green, but it's also not really good for darkening. And this one's like an uglier version, in my opinion, of this. Of course, this is highly subjective, but it's so funny because I really like these more than these. These two I barely use too. It's very hard, kind of yellow ochre, not yellow ochre. What is it? Not sepia, umber. These are kind of umber and burnt umber, but the pans are very hard, and it's so hard to dig through them. It's not as fun, so I just end up using them less. I'm gonna shut my phone. Paint in hiding. Oh my god, it's Liron. I love horses. Thank you for being here. Hi from Thailand. Cool. And Risha says, hi. Good, so we're caught up. We can continue. So what do you say we'll continue with the body of the horse? We'll just start building it up. So what do we see here? I see in the beginning, and this relates to a question I get, by the way, what I'm doing right now. I get the question of like, if this is dirty and the brush is dirty, how do you pick up paint and how do you get the paint you want? You can actually just negate what's in here. So let's say you want a bit more blue, you just grab that blue you want to use, you bring it over, and it slowly takes over the mix, okay? Now we will need some manganese because remember it's in the middle. What we mixed earlier is kind of in the middle. I actually don't think we'll benefit much from this opaque white paint. I don't know why, I just didn't like the way it looks. I do think we'll need a bit more manganese here. And let's see what we got here. That's nice. Ooh, I'm splashing a bit of blue all over this is gonna be like snow flying around. Then we need new test paper as always. And this is quite light too, so don't let that mislead you into thinking it's a dark value. It's actually quite light. So that's a little too muted to my taste. I'm gonna need a bit more of that blue here. That's better. That looks a little closer, but still not exactly. Let me add a bit of that white again here. Let's see what we can discover. So if I do this and I use a bit more of the manganese, these colors always give me trouble to mix. Always, always. And the manganese is quite a hard paint. Like literally, it's tough to get out of the pen sometimes. I love the color, but sometimes it's just a bit of work to get it out of the pen. So I'm trying to get it in here. So let me add a bit of red here to a submix. It's going to be similar because it starts with a bit more neutralized color. So I'm going to get this kind of a nice little purpley. A bit of yellow, just a touch. I don't want to lighten it up too much. And let's start here and we'll see what we get. I'm going to switch back to my large reference in front of me. And so we get this shadow under the neck and it goes around here. It actually needs to be more blue in my opinion. So more blue into the mix. It's funny how like if you're using digital tools, all you really have to do is just choose the color you want to use, but with watercolor you actually have to mix it. It's so funny. Yeah, a bit more neutral up here. Now this is important because these shapes are very soft edged. So I'm gonna blend them together around here, I think. See, I'm just gonna use a bit of water to help these move together. Soften that edge. Soften it here too. And we'll start painting. So this connects to here. And then I'm going to add a bit of that ultramarine too. Then as we move down here, we're starting to get a little bluer. And this goes around the hair. This is the hair here. So I'm not painting it yet. Now edges. So we're going to have to really blend this edge. This edge too, honestly. It's going to be a little hard because the shape is very thin, but we can try. And then I'm going to add a lot more of my manganese cleanly into this mix. The front here is indeed, it looks a little lilac-y. Maybe if I add a bit of, like I did in a tutorial, in the flower tutorial, I added a bit of that purple, it actually looked quite nice. Let's see here. And this goes here. This is a hard edge, but this here is a soft edge. So look at what I'm doing. I'm staying away from this line a bit more to the left to give me enough room to blend it all the way to the actual end of the shape, like this. Let's blend a bit of this just so that the hair isn't painted and then it looks all awkward. And then we're gonna do this definition of the muscle, which is quite cool. Going down all the way here. And I think I'll lighten things up a bit. They look a little too dark to me here. And also do this. Just a bit of a splash here. Such a light color, really. Such a light and gentle color here. It goes almost as kind of dark as the background, which isn't too dark at all. Goes around here. Now here on this leg, I do recognize a bit of that nice little violet purple. So I'm using a bit of that too. Is there a shape I'd like to blend? I could blend this. Again, this thing we added earlier a bit. It's always hard to blend small shapes because you just don't have a lot of room to do it. But sometimes it's necessary to create the correct edge. And correct doesn't necessarily mean you follow the reference to the T. It means the thing you think will look best as an impression, right? There's actually a tendon here or something like that. So, wait, can you see this? Yeah, okay, good. There's this weird tendon here that then kind of merges back with the shape. And it's the kind of detail that is important to get, in my opinion. So yeah, then this goes here. I think I'll actually do a lot of experimentation, future experimentation with this particular subject. Something about the colors fascinates me, and I would like to try to do the color matching exercise with it. And then as we move down, you see it starts to kind of blend into the background actually. So just gonna use a bit of my water to help it move together into this very abstract background. And what we can do is the nice kind of water flicking or paint flicking trick, you see, just to do like give an impression of like something flying around. I don't know if it comes off through the camera well, but that's just a nice way of portraying it sometimes. And again, come back with some more water. Just blend those legs onto the ground. Yeah. So let me look at this from a bit of a more zoomed out perspective. So yeah, I definitely the color matching could be improved so much, and the yellow is not really bright enough. It's always like that. I'm gonna have to figure that out. First wash as well. Got a lot of drops on my paper now, but I do love like the structure of it and the values and everything. Now let's get a bit of that hair in. So the hair is super light. I'm gonna add a bit of red there. Like this. I'm gonna do heavy color matching here in a future time. So we'll continue the hair. The hair almost completely merges again with this light value on the back. So I'm just putting in an indication so that in just a moment I can actually come back with a bit of a darker color. And get the shadowy side of it too. So right around here, see the shadows? To the left, something like that. It's a little too red here, so let's add a bit of blue. Like this. Just to show that it's the hair and it's flying around. Kind of like that. Now one thing that kind of bugs me is on the face. There are a few more details that I think would be beneficial to paint. So let's see here. It's gonna be muted, I think. A little blue, but still muted. And you see, I fell into the trap of going a little too blue all throughout. Wasn't careful enough. But anyway, this part here should get a touch of value. Look at that. The eye, I actually really like how I match the colors. So yeah, and let's work on, actually, so this line here, this is also a bit more of a softer transition, so let me fix that now. It is a little sharper than the right side, but still not enough to warrant this big of a contrast. So I'm just going to go over it with a bit of a moist brush, just to set that edge free, just a little bit. There we go. And now I do want to get some of the values and colors on the belly. So I'm going to start with this kind of a neutral mix here. Maybe with a hint of even purple. So this, I'm not even sure what this color is, the purple color that I'm reaching to occasionally. So sorry about that. But it's quite light anyway, so I think a lot of colors can be used in this case. And then I'm gonna blue it up slightly and use that to move the paint a bit. And then we'll tilt the page and we'll use a bit of water to kind of soften that. So we got this little transition there. We can actually work on the back too. So the side that faces away from us is quite purple. So let's start from here and let me see if I can match something close. I think that's actually close. So this with a bit of the blue. So that's going to be the back here. That's pretty close. That's probably the best color I matched so far. This side is a very similar color, but it's a very smooth transition. So I'm pre-wetting and then I'm putting it in. like this. And this sharp versus smooth is actually a nice look. It tells us the story of the shape of the back, of how there's a bump that goes up, and then a turn, and then a gradual kind of rotation here. And we can actually continue with this shape a bit lower here. We do see hints of it around this part of the back. And we can use a bit of our water just to kind of soften that. You know, color matching is a big deal, actually. It's something that when I do get right, I spend a lot of time on. So just know that that like in the flower tutorial, I did get it quite right. But the reality is, it's really hard to do for me. Now this leg here is also has a bit of purple in it. So let's see what we can get here. It's purple, but don't forget it's also quite neutralized. So we'll add a bit of yellow for good measure. And let's see what we can do here. Let's work our way down this leg and try and get. I like the shape of it. I love this shape. Ruth has a similar shape because she's like a horse but smaller, actually. So we'll start here. A bit more water this time, and then there's a variety of edges here. So what I'm seeing, a bit more purple here, and very, very smooth transition around the top. I'm going to use a bit of water to help the paint move onto that. And then it gets a little sharper down the bottom, actually. Around here it goes sharp. There's the knee or whatever, some kind of a detail there. And then it goes back down again. And then I feel like it goes a little more neutral, so grab a bit more of that and a bit more yellow this time. Maybe a bit of neutral tint too, because I want to darken it just the way it is right now. And then put a smidge of that in here. And move it kind of down like that. And then we'll do the same thing. We're going to blend it together with the background and a bit of blue, I think. And then we can actually use what we already have mixed here and kind of connect the next leg before moving forward, which we should have connected to the belly earlier. I just didn't think about it. Next to the edge, we actually have a bit more of the yellow showing, so it could be a fun thing to show. The ankle, of course, is showing, and then this connects here onto something that's a little more neutral and blends right into the background with a lot of water, just to help it move into the background like this. I love the color scheme here, actually. It looks really nice. It's just not perfectly matched at all, but it actually looks good. This goes here, and of course this part should be a little more blended. We do have the tail that's behind. Let's get that in here too. Let's see. So this is quite gray. I'm gonna add a bit more red. Turns into a purple. I'm gonna add a touch of yellow. That's actually close. A bit more red. And a bit more yellow, actually. And this is for the tail at the back. So that is a little darker, actually, than this leg here, so that's good. Goes around it. It may blend into it a bit. That's fine. Not the end of the world. And it actually lightens up near the bottom, so let me go ahead and lighten it up by adding some more water. I'm gonna be done with this section in a moment, and then I can go back and see what you're saying. Sorry. That looks nice. But let me see, it's always fun to go back to the screen and see what you're actually seeing. Yeah, that looks actually quite nice. I like that. I'm gonna remove my sandal. Bugs me a lot. So let's see what you're saying here. Um, Nagi, my horse does not look like anything close to yours. It's so much fun. Yeah, that's how it is. If you get 10 people to paint it, they're all gonna look different. And it actually has nothing to do with skill or experience. Also, it's just a matter of personal expression in a way. I think I really believe that. Pavan says, I can never know what color it is until you put it aside on your palette. They look all brown versions for me. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry about that. Let me actually give you a closer look at the palette, just for fun here. Because from up close, you will be able to tell them apart. I should have done this earlier. But you see, this is my more manganese, cooler blue. Then we have a French ultramarine that's really dark, so you won't see it as well. I don't know why my camera refuses to focus in some areas. It's just not that good with autofocus. See, it's still focused on the paper, even though my palette's here. But in any case, Perlin red, Pyrrole scarlet, this beautiful cadmium light that is actually an orange, lemon yellow, Indian yellow, all the useless greens. Well, some of them are useful. My opaque paint that looks a little blue because we mixed it into the blue, and neutral tint. I should do this more often. I should show my palette more up close. So yeah. So even though I messed up some of the color matching, it's still, I would say that I didn't go too far at least with them. So it's not like they're super, super blue. Like a super blue would be more like this. It actually looks quite similar on the camera, but or maybe even like this. See, that's really strong. Now one thing I do see here is, notice how this very soft background actually contrasts with the legs, making them pop. There is a bit of a darkness here that we will add, I think, in a second. It's kind of a very light gray purple, I think. That's what it looks like to me, at least. So yeah, and when you see this dust and snow flying around everywhere, don't let that confuse you. It's actually just the legs are blended. If you look at the black and white picture, it becomes a little clearer. You just blend the legs into the distance. That's how snow flying around, or something sprays, even water spraying, will make it look, basically. But yeah. So Mark says thanks. Soling, what size is the paper? This is 26 centimeters by 16 and a half, something like that. Tom Dancer says, I still struggle with the mixing, not color. I can get the color I want, okay, that's great. I can't, but the mechanics of it. I feel like often when I try to add to the mix, the brush sucks up all the paint in the well. So, Tom, my advice to you would be, work with more paint. It may sound funny, but that's actually a pretty good solution for this issue. I know exactly what you're talking about. This tends to happen when you work with a very small pool of water. And for example, small would be like this tiny thing here, right? You need more. You need more water to see what happens. If you have a very small puddle, of course, you're just going to touch it and the brush is going to soak everything back up. You need more. Like, don't be afraid to just go add a lot of the colors that you need. Start with, for example, it's an orange, but it's very muted. Start with blue and with yellow and red. Then add the blue. You need to mute it, and don't be scared to work large. Now, here's a problem a lot of people have. After adding some paint, you will need to add more water, and people don't realize, they don't notice it in the heat of the moment. So go ahead, add more water, make the mix larger, give it some more volume. It's really important. That's how I combat it. I know exactly what you mean. I had that happen to me a lot before. So I hope that gives you a bit of a direction to work with. Melodia says, okay, Bello, thank you so much. Rita, blending is a challenge, so I like watching you do it. Yeah, and you can use like a blending brush like this one. It's just super useful. Where can I put it here? This kind of a small, sable, very short, that can help with blending too. There are a lot of ways to blend, and if you can't, it's not the end of the world, honestly. Tarcisio says, hi Liron, welcome back. Thank you so much. Johan's very impressive so far, Liron. Thank you so much. Aniruda, have you heard of an artist named M.F. Hussein? I think I have. Let me check it out for a second. I think I am familiar with that artist. Search Google. Oh, no. Oh, no. I'm not familiar with him. I'm familiar with another artist that also has MH in his name, I believe. But yeah. Another one I was thinking, he was famous for his horses. Cool, cool. I'll look into that. I have that tab open. Of course I am. Highly wrote up back I'm a bit late today. Painting looks great so far. Thank you so much. Johannes, can you use the scratching technique for the white highlights? Depending on which white highlights you refer to, I don't find a lot of success with it. Just don't enjoy it as much. Some people use credit cards, stuff like that. I never really got it to work well for me, and I feel like it creates this bit of a gimmicky look. Sometimes next to the highlight there's a slightly darker section, and that may be me doing it wrong. I don't know, but I don't like it as much. You can use it. I guess I'm not just not that good with it. Dean says, "Hey Liron, sorry I'm late. I can see it's beautiful already. Thank you so much." Mary says, "Just the blue, purple, and the white could look gorgeous, but what you're doing looks great too. Thank you so much." Monica NJ looks great. What kind of paper? This is actually Saunders Waterford. It's the last piece of Saunders Waterford I have here. So ran out officially. That's not true. I have these two that I'm gonna work with here. Let's see. But yeah, other than that, I'm out. The rest is Arch. And I have some more, of course, other papers that are good, better for practice, but also quite decent. And Dean says, everybody make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Thank you so much, and the likes too. Much appreciated. I see more likes than viewers, which is always a good sign. So thank you so much for that. Color matching, you could take a strip, use 2 colors in your painting, each square add in a touch more. Yeah, you could take a strip, use 2 colors in your painting, each square add in a touch more of the second color until at the end only use the second color. Interesting. I'll actually have to see a demo of it. I think I understand what you mean, but it's interesting. Dean says the dark colors are more than likely transparent. Yeah, I mean most of them are. I'm currently using mostly a transparent palette. Just the opaque white isn't transparent. Some of the yellows aren't. The lemon yellow isn't that transparent too. So happy enjoying Melodia. Thank you so much, John. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Monica. White res is so hard to get the right value. I kept correcting again and again, and in the end I removed all sharp edges, which looks so great. Oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's good. So you did blend the sharp edges. Tell us about your long-term goal, Liron, asks Prema. That's a good question. I can work on that while I'm starting to bring the background in. So what I'm trying to do here, I think, is start with a bit of water and then paint next to it so that I get a blended edge. Okay, so I'll pre-wet, blend, and then move the wash down all the way to here where you see the snow begins, right here. Or maybe I should kind of keep it blended. We'll see. I'll get a feel for it as I move down this wash, because you mentioned earlier that it's nice that it's actually blended here. It gives it a sense of movement. Yeah, it actually is nice, you know. I think I'll connect them. I'll just continue this wash down and keep it kind of blended together. But I do want to darken some areas just to bring out the highlights on the legs, you know. I could honestly leave it like that and maybe spray some more water, but I think I'll enjoy seeing a bit more contrast against the legs. So let's do that very carefully, okay? And let's mix just what we think is the background for now. It's very neutral. It is a bit maybe on the side of blue. Yeah, that's actually quite nice. I may add a bit of that purple to it. So let's see. We'll play it by ear, as they say. So I'm gonna need some clean water. And look at what I'm doing here. This is one of my favorite ways of achieving this. So I'm wetting a thick strip, relatively thick here. And then, because it's wet, I can use it to get that blended edge around here. So I can just do this, and the top edge is blended, right? Just an easier way of achieving this effect. And then as I move down, I can add a bit more blue, maybe cool this mix up a bit. But notice that it's not too dark too, so you kind of want to keep it light. It even goes a little lighter as it moves down. It needs to be dark enough to contrast nicely with the, I guess, lighter sections of the leg, like here. And everything else is going to be quite light. So moving along here, down next to the legs, and you see how it makes them pop a bit. And don't worry, it will dry, of course, a little lighter, so it's not going to have that strong of an impact on the painting. But this method of pre-wetting, it just works so well every time. And then look at what we'll achieve here. So because there's a kind of a layer of spraying of snow, I'm just going to stop here. You know, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop this here, blend some edges, and we'll get this feeling of maybe some snow spraying. I'll actually put some water into this to make it lighter so that it feels like it indeed sprays some snow. And we will break off this edge but still keep it lighter below it. So you see, you get this feeling of like there is snow there flying towards us. If you want to enhance it, you can break that off in some spots, see? Kind of like this. Just to show it's like a sandstorm, a snowstorm in a way. But I actually really like it, so I don't want to mess around with it too much. I do see a hint of that leg within the shadow, so let's just bring some of it back here, and we'll see how it goes. It's something that sometimes it's fun to do. Blend this top edge, and then kind of you see hint that you see some of the legs through the snow. Can lead to an interesting look, just like that. And of course, the majority of it is going to be blended. So whenever you see these complex effects of like snow flying around or a storm or something like that, very often it has to do with the values and edges. And sorry, bump the camera. And that's pretty much it. So if you can get the kind of right value, and if you can get the right edge, you will get the effect that you desire. And you don't need much more than that, actually. And I actually love that it's loose here. I do wonder if I want to go over some of the shadows within this section, but you know, it's nice. I like it. It's too nice to change, I think. Let me lift this up a bit so you can see the proportions, because the head looks a little strange in that angle. It looks too large. So something like this, right? So yeah, it looks really good. In my opinion, I like that kind of a look. This should probably, just this gap here, be a little darker because of the background we just added. And I'm gonna let it rest for a few moments. I do know what I want to do next. There is a bit of a touch to the face that we will put in. We could have put it earlier on, but I kind of messed that up. And I think that will wrap it up. So let's see what you're saying real quick. Thank you so much, everyone. Long-term goals. Oh, I completely forgot. I would like to be one of the best watercolor painters in the world that also gave as much value to others. So a lot of artists are by nature very reclusive, very focused on their craft, and you can't blame them. That's the thing that made their craft so amazing. But they're very insular, they don't share a lot. I want to be the opposite of that. So if I can be selfish and do both, that'll be great. I would also like to walk out of the watercolor scene in a way. I don't necessarily see myself as a watercolorist, you know. I am a watercolor painter, but I don't think I'd like to constrain myself to just that definition, right? I would like to try out, and I'm already doing other mediums, of course, if you talk about pencil or pen and ink. And I feel like I'm more of an artist in general. So I would like to step out of just the watercolor scene. And that's something that I don't have to do anything in order to do. I can just decide I'm not just a watercolor painter. It can be a matter of decision, really. So I think that's a part of it. I would like just generally to provide as much free value as I can. And the thing is, I'm so happy because that's what I do. That's kind of how that's my modus operandi. That most of the time I spend creating free content. So I guess I'm already there, kind of living the dream. I would like more financial freedom, something that will come with time, I'm sure. The business started doing really well in the last couple of years. It became really something I can feel very comfortable with. It's very interesting because 2019 and 2020 were peak, like really high movement up, and I think some of it is, of course, a part of it is actually the pandemic. People in their homes, so more people buy and learn online. And then 2021 kind of was more relaxed for me in terms of business. It went a little down, if you will, and kind of stabilizes a bit now. So I would like to have more of financial freedom in a way. I'm already free in terms of like I don't really, first off, I do something I enjoy, so I don't have to answer to anyone, not like a boss. This is, I think, living the dream. I cannot imagine something better than this, honestly. But if you add to it just a bit more of an element of financial, I guess, long-term safety, security, and what's the word I'm looking for? I forgot the word for it. Like that you're not just, doing okay, but you're really, the money starts working for you more, stuff like that. That'll be great. And definitely a part of the long-term goals is to bring my skills to the max, and there is no max. You just aspire to it, right? So to keep aspiring to make my skills greater and greater and better. I guess that's a big part of it. So yeah, thank you. That's a cool question that makes you think, Thank you, Descubriendo Acuarela. Megan, I had to step away and help my partner, so now I'm way behind. I'll have to watch again. Yeah, no worries. It's going to be up on the channel. Thank you, Prema. Thank you, Cubswin. How are you? It's been a while, I feel like. Pavan says, do you decide first on a technique to try and then search reference? No, I actually search for reference first. Actually search for the reference first, and then I decide what technique I'll use to paint it. And it's funny, now I'm looking at it a bit zoomed out, and the colors are actually pretty good. They're much better than they used to be in the past. So interesting. Thank you, Cobbs, much appreciated. I lost contrast, especially in the front, blue versus white. Oh yeah, that's a big one. Kind of keeping track of the shape while you're painting it, it's not an easy feat. But I think very often it's actually about getting a few tries in. So maybe you need to try it again. Maybe you need to try and repaint the same scene. You won't get it right the first time, and you may get it very wrong the first time. So I think a big part of it is to have the patience to actually just retry. I'm going to blend some edges as we talk. And if you retry, you'll definitely come to the process with a few more a more advanced understanding of the subject and the scene overall. It could be really interesting for me to paint this again, actually. Just by painting, by going through the motions, the next time you're much more equipped to deal with the same challenges. So just have the patience or courage, depending on how you see it. And I had to blend a lot of these edges. Courage or patience, depending on how you see it, to repaint the scene. It's just definitely a part of the journey. So yeah. Pablo says hi from Argentina. Cool, thank you so much. I've been looking recently at some of my pictures from South America and had a really good time just looking at them. Hi, good. How are you, Ruki-chan? I had a good time looking at some old pictures from my trips to South America. Really fun, actually. I saw some pics from Argentina too. Lola NP says, fantastic. Also enjoyed the painting of Ruth on Instagram. Would like to see a day with Ruth video when time permits. Oh, that could be fun. I'll do that. A day with Ruth. Christine says, wow, look great. Domo, you're definitely more than just a watercolor artist. It's just a medium the way I look at it. Yeah, I agree. Javi says, stability. Not stability, actually. I'm gonna Google Translate it. Just give me a second. I'm looking for a different word, and it's so funny how I forget words. Okay, let's see. I'm translating from Hebrew to English. Prosperity. That was the word I was looking for. Prosperity. So yeah, but thank you, Javi. You need to advertise your channel if you don't already. Well, I do, in different ways. But yeah, I can always learn more about marketing. Ambi, I think my snow turned into water, but I like it. Funny. Redo it for sure, Teresa. Yeah, it's interesting. Usually always retry tutorials anyway. Good. That's a good approach. D. Johnson just joining in. Love the painting already. Thank you so much. Already, but it's almost done actually. I thought we won't finish it, but this went by fast. The amateur point, you're an awesome artist. Thank you so much. Jose Cesar, I believe that life will be generous to you to the extent that you are generous to everyone, and you're a very generous person, so keep it up. Thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you, the amateur point. Actually, that has been my philosophy ever since I started painting. I think the one thing that was really important for me is I think you do get paid in the world in general for value you bring. So if you can bring a lot of value, you will get paid for it, as long as you capture a payment. I mean, you can just never ask for anything, never sell anything, but if you do, I think you will be rewarded for it, especially if you build a useful skill, something that's useful for others. Now, whether it's art, whether it's being a lawyer, or whatever it is, if you can give that value. It's funny that lawyer was the first example, like some of the most hated people, but you know, there's more than one type of lawyer, of course. But if I do think you get rewarded for it, and that was actually my plan all along, to just give out the most and see what comes back and kind of capture it. And I really do believe that. So yeah, thank you so much for saying that. So we have the front of the head now. That's the main thing I want to work on. Let me show you. We'll bring this zoom in, and I think you'll see it. So what I'm going to do is notice how and I should have done this wet and wet initially when I had the chance, but notice how there is a very thin darker spot around where the shadow turns into a highlight. Right here. It just goes a little darker. We're gonna do that. Now what's the best way to achieve that? Again, pre-wetting just a small area and then doing wet and wet. So I'm just gonna pre-wet this kind of around, and you need decent paper to do this. If your paper is terrible, then it will reawaken the wash underneath, so you just want to be careful to not do that. And then you need to mix a pretty dark mix. Now the way I see it, it's a neutral kind of cool color, so something like that. And I'm just putting it in like that. If you can do it in one go, that's ideal. Now it may be a little strong, but it's actually gonna dry a little lighter, of course, because it's wet and wet. You have to, at this stage, really be courageous and just put the value in there. Even if it looks a little strong, you'll see once it dries, it will dry much lighter, and I think it will fall into place really nicely. Just want to make sure I don't cross that line here. So I'm gonna dry my brush. Just make sure that we don't cross that. Good. And kind of blend the top edge. You see, and it gives it just a bit of that curvy shape. Granted, it's a little more along this area, but that's fine. I can actually lift a bit of the excess like this, or you can just use this to kind of lift back some of the left section, you see. But I actually like it. There we go. That's more accurate. See? Just along this edge. And this actually goes on everywhere pretty much, but I don't know if I want to now start doing this everywhere. Let's see here. The value here is a little off. It's too dark, but it's a bit of a tough fix that I don't think I want to get into, so I'm going to keep it like this. We're actually almost done here, in my opinion. I'm just thinking what else, what kind of a small touch I'll add to it. Of course, I need to darken the eyes a bit. I need to add the highlight on the nose. Let's start there, and we'll see where it gets us. And maybe, you know what I'll do? I'll scan it for you. I'll show it to you scanned. I think it will be much clearer. Okay, so let's do this, and then I'll start wrapping things up, and I will show it to you scanned. So, darkening the eye. Now, here's the thing. I find that if I go too dark, it can look a little awkward. So I'm going to try not to steer too far from the kind of value scheme we have here. I'll just add a small layer of dark neutral tint on top of it. Just very carefully. You can actually see some of the eyelids. That's fun. Also on the other side, same kind of thing. Really don't need much, and you're good. I think the shadow under the hair here should be a little darker, so we'll do that. Just a touch here and there to show that there's hairs there. Also here, maybe under the hair. This I don't see. I just think it will improve the shape a bit. This. And that's pretty much it. Now we'll add a highlight to the nose, which is going to be big. That's going to be a really cool moment where it pops. It's always a fun moment. So let me get my opaque white, a bit of a warmth to it, and we'll see what we can do here. I'm gonna use probably a thinner brush for this. Let's use my Skoda sword brush. That's a good one. Pick up a bit of that opaque paint and apply it a bit carefully. It's especially here around the top of the nostril. See that? And then it goes along this edge. Like this. And I actually need to get rid of just a small part of it, so let's do that right here. That's good. I can actually use some water to clean it up a bit later. Or I could just paint over it with the dark paint. Let's actually do that, just so that I fix it. It's a little too thick on the lower section, so you just grab that slightly darker paint. We'll just fix its shape just ever so slightly. See, I need more water. You take all this dark paint just to fix the shape. It's so funny. But there we go. Just here, make it thinner. There. And hopefully that kind of makes the nose pop a bit. Did I want to add anything else? I kind of forgot if I wanted to do something else. No, I think that's it. I think that's it for now. So let me go ahead and actually scan this. I want to show you this. I'm going to sign it too. I think it's time to sign it. If I want to add any last kind of corrections, I will, but I'm going to remove the tape too because I can't scan it with the tape. So we'll do that. We're kind of finishing off, but there may be another session of corrections, okay? So you'll just give me a moment. Some people ask about how I sign, so now you get to see at least. I'm going to do, let's do here. One thing that's important is to give enough distance from the edge of paper so that when they frame it, you're not running the risk of them cropping out the signature. There we go. And now let me scan it real quick. I'll actually dry it beforehand. Just give me a few seconds. We have a visitor. Shalom. Shalom. How do I get out of here? Okay, so we're gonna remove the tape real fast because again I need to do that in order to scan, and I want to show you the cleanest colors. I'm not seeing the cleanest colors for that matter because there's a lot of artificial light in here. But this is gonna be fun, you know, the scenes that are painted all over. It's usually more fun to remove the tape. So there we go. I love Saunders. Really is the best paper, in my opinion. At this moment, these things, sadly enough, they change just because brands sometimes go bad after a while, or others become better, which is a good thing. So there we have it. Let me put it in the scanner. I can actually talk while I do that. So here we go. And I'm gonna scan it and make sure that I'll do some color corrections if necessary over on Photoshop. So you'll have to bear with me for a few seconds here as I get this done. Edit settings. Let's do settings. Edit settings. We'll do this color. 300 ppi. Done. Scan. Okay, here we go. So we're scanning it. And of course, you can always go into more details. You can always paint it larger. You can always work more patiently, not film while working. That's a big part of it. But yeah, thank you so much for the kind words, everyone. Really appreciate it. Hey Mark, how are you? Thank you so much. Marketing is definitely a key to success. So hard not to overdo it. Sometimes I need to put a painting back for a minute and get a new clear look. Yeah, for sure. Okay, good. Now, let me... So I got the painting scanned. It looks so weird, the colors in the scanner. It's so funny. Probably look even more off than I thought. Scan. So let's see if I can just get the colors to look as close to reality as I can. They actually look very majestic, just different. So let me open it up in Photoshop. Taking a bit of a risk here with my computer, opening up Photoshop as I stream, but that's fine. By the way, do you feel a difference in terms of the quality? I think it runs a little smoother. Hopefully the next live stream I'll attempt to do in 1080p, so we'll have the resolution closer to just a normal video. That's going to be fun. So yeah, so let me see here. The scanner has an issue with blue colors. Someone commented on it and they were actually right. I see it now. It really is pretty glaring, actually. I'll try and fix it. So let's see here. A bit darker here. Oh, that's good. I know you don't see anything, sorry about that. So I don't know why the colors look a little off to me. Let's see. So if I look at the... Just bear with me for a few more seconds. I'm just trying to figure out. There's something about the colors looks a little strange. Okay, whatever. I'll just save it like that. So you will see some colors, but something about the scanner is really weird with my blues. A bit with the greens too, but mostly the blues. But let me show you. I'll show you side by side. It looks nothing like it, but that's fine. Size. So strange that it would do that. Color balance, that's what I was looking for. So yeah, okay, so I think I fixed it just a bit, but it's still definitely different. So let's see here. Scan, save. Make the file a little smaller. And there we go. Okie doke. Okay, I'm bringing it in. Thank you for your patience. Sorry about that. Let's add a photo. Not that. Image. And we'll add the scan. So this is what it looks like scanned. I don't know why I told you the colors look very off. It's not what it looks like in real life too. So, but at least you get like a sharper look to it. So I'm gonna place them one next to the other. I also darkened a bit. I darkened some of the mid-value areas. Maybe I went a little too overboard. But let me move this to the side. Actually, it's interesting. So you see here, it's so funny how this looks more like that than the scanned version. And when I look at it, actually it looks like this more than like the scan. So I don't know why the scanner played around with the color. I actually never had this kind of a thing happen before. It's so interesting. And you know what's funny? When I look at what I paint sometimes through the screen, I'm like, oh, okay, and I base it off of that. But I don't know. But yeah, it's really cool. You get to see 3 iterations of the same scene and kind of a way of interpreting it. Of course, you see these areas here are a little darker in the reference photo, but I actually really wanted to blend them in, so I went for something a little lighter. It could be definitely darker. But yeah, let me see some of what you're saying, and then we'll start wrapping today. Jose says, that's it. Thank you, brilliant. I love it. Please add a darker tone to the crown between the ears. So you mean here? This is the crown, like the actual hair? Let me know, I'm not sure. Oh, yeah, okay. So yeah, there is a bit of that going on. I can do that. Let's do that real fast. So let's see what we have here. So this goes a little darker, right? So we do this. And I guess then I just help it to kind of blend in its environment so that it's not too exaggerated, and then we can do a bit more wet and wet. It's really interesting seeing the scan, I have to say. So yeah, maybe that's a bit closer. I have to figure out like a way to show you the painting in a more clear form. Maybe a better camera. That would be the solution. Thank you so much, Prema. Thank you, Jose. Thank you, Ambi. Thank you, party over here. Please add a darker tone. Done. Hopefully, D. Johnson. Thank you, Monica and Jay. Thank you so much, Ruth. Yeah, Ruth came to visit. Thank you, John. Daiji Shinori, how are you? Got in about half an hour ago, and I've been lurking, just saying hi. Thank you for being here. Try Sachi Art Gallery online if you haven't already. Oh yeah, I know. Definitely, I'm very familiar with Sachi, and I know it works. The thing is, I started reading their like, not terms, but the way you mail the artwork. It's like, so they have this weird requirements that I'm not sure I feel like complying with. So I don't know. It's just a bit different because they're doing the shipping, I guess. Somehow they come and collect the painting. I'm not sure how that works, but yeah. But yeah, definitely, I appreciate any advice. If maybe I wasn't familiar with Sachi, and then knowing about it really helps. So thank you. Dean says there are many reasons the color could be off. RGB, CMYK. Everyone's screens are different. Yeah, I know so much. I'll have to figure it out. I know it though. It's really hard to get it to look like what it actually looks like. And what does it actually look like, right? Because I'm looking at it with yellow light, so you know. White President, thanks for the lesson. In the end, I'm actually quite happy with what I've got. Cool. Send it over. I'm curious to see. I also added some desaturated greens on the horizon line to contrast the red tone. Oh, that's really nice. Ambi says it was fun. Thank you, party over here. Thank you, Crispy. Oh, no worries. You can watch it from the beginning. I'll keep the live stream going. Let me know if you have any kind of final thoughts, final questions, and then we'll start moving towards wrapping it up. I love looking at all 3 of them. Actually, it looks pretty cool together. Me trying to figure out which one is closer to the original. And yeah, let me know. Feel free to let me know in the chat, like, what's the last thing you painted? Aside from people who painted just now and painted a horse. Curious to hear that. And if you have any questions or you want feedback, again, feel free to email me. I actually replied to quite a few emails today, so some of you probably have gotten a response. Takes me ages sometimes. I'm sorry about that. One more thing, the last couple of weeks I've been less active on the Discord too and other places. I'm trying, but in my mind, like, nothing's enough, so I'm always like, I need to spend more time. So sorry if I haven't. That's the short of it. I wonder, let's see something here. I'm gonna try and just mix a bit of clean ultramarine here. Funny, it's actually quite close. Interesting. One thing I did notice is that my yellows tend to be a little not bright enough, and I'm having a bit of trouble with blues. Reds actually come easier to me, and grays and browns are a little easier. So yeah. Question, what do you do about the palette getting messy? I usually keep it messy, so I'll probably, the next painting, I'll keep it the same. I'll just come back with some water, reawaken a pan, and just a mixing area and just get to work. Honestly, it's not that big of a deal. Again, you can always overpower what's in the palette. Let me get this out of the way here and show you. You've probably seen me do this earlier in the live stream. So if you have this thing here and you have no open well, you need to mix red. You just reach for that red. You beat what's in there and it's very fast. See, it's very fast. I don't obsess over just clean, pure colors because I think a part of the beauty of painting, see, like this kind of a thing, part of the beauty of painting is that organic mixing of colors. Some colors just kind of naturally mix together on the palette, and I think that it looks, you know, good naturally, you know. So I wouldn't obsess over it too badly. But yeah, I'll just leave it dirty to answer your question in a more succinct way. Eileen says, shadow colors on a white subject always amaze me. Thank you for your for your excellent explanation, a great explanation. Thank you so much, Eileen. And definitely, it sounds like you may have watched the last video, but if you haven't, check it out. It's just on that topic. Trezor, where can we send you our masterpieces? Send it to Liron at lironian.com. So that's Liron at LIRONYAN.com. Liron at lironian.com. You can find the email on this channel. Dean says, set up the YouTube live stream and Discord at the same. Oh, that could be fun. I should just generally stream to other platforms simultaneously, like Instagram, open it up in my phone, something like that. That'll be great. Maraki says, I painted shattered glass 2 days ago. It was very difficult and looked just about 50% like what I really wanted it to look like. 50% is a lot. You got half of it right. That's great. But yeah, just more practice more. Find a different subject of that same kind of topic, you know, just a repetition, and feel free to send it over. Party over here, the last thing I painted was a blueberry utilized wet on wet with glazing. I'm new to the video, I like the outcome. Cool, yeah. As long as you can enjoy the outcome, find something to like, love even about it, that's ideal. I try to find something I like about every painting I do. And it's very easy when you get used to it, because there's always some section that you got right, or that looks good, or that you feel connected to, you know, that does the job, that tells the story. If you can find that one thing, it can be really, really encouraging. And I think on that positive note, we'll move towards wrapping this one up. So I do want to thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. As always, links in the description box if you want to check out the frustration-free watercolor course. There's also the realism course on the way. It's really close to finishing filming all the content. What else? Oh, very important. I posted yesterday too. There's a 20% off on all the paintings in the gallery. All you have to do is use the coupon code NOV21, November 21. It's NOV21. Just use that. I think it's all caps. I'm not sure if it even matters. And it is written in the description box. There's no limit, so you can purchase a few using that discount. You get 20% off of all the paintings in the website. That can be quite a lot for the more expensive ones. I do know some of them are too expensive for a lot of people, so my apologies. I will try and keep making smaller pieces that are more attainable for everyone. But just letting you know, there will be plenty of other sales, plenty of other promotions, but definitely check it out just if you want to even just see a painting that you like and kind of bookmark it for future discount or something like that, that you can do that. There are quite a few nice paintings there on the gallery. I think I'll upload the flowers from the last video too there, because I really like them. Yeah, that's it pretty much. I want to thank you so much. You've been great. Today's been great fun. Also very kind with the let's do this. Very kind with the likes and with the comments and everything. Much appreciated. Let me get the scan in here. There we go. And yeah, great fun. This is a subject that challenges me regardless of colors. It's just the subject, horses. Very organic, very challenging, but I think we did a decent job today. And yeah, thank you so much. I'm gonna wrap it up now before I ramble on for too long. Take care, have a great day, continue painting, enjoying the creation. We will talk again soon. Again, feel free to reach out, message, email, whatever it is. I'd be happy to hear from you. I will talk to you again next time.